Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Nordic Early Stage Startup Summit, Fall 2023 edition. We had one in spring as well. So with each of our cohorts, we have a summit event at the end of our recruitment cycle. And this is being done by Founded Institute Nordic. Founded Institute, as many of you know, is the world's largest pre-seed accelerator. My name is Naimul, and today I have the honor of moderating this fantastic event where you get to meet startup experts and investors. And we have great to have you with us here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for all the amazing work that you guys are doing for the Nordic ecosystem. I am extremely impressed with all this, and damn, that's a schedule that you put up there. I don't know if people will definitely need to watch the rerun of that to catch up on all that things that are going on. So kudos.
Thank you, Jonas. And a quick word to our community here as well. We were trying to make the LinkedIn link work. So if people cannot directly find their way from LinkedIn to here, the video recording of this event will be out there in 2 days. So just a quick note. But Jonas, thank you so much. You have been a veteran ecosystem builder in Nordics. So you have been around, you have built startup ecosystems in plural in Nordics. So we are very interested in knowing, tell us about yourself and why you got interested in ecosystem building. Let's start there.
Well, that's definitely a rabbit hole to dive into, and I know this is a passion topic for you as well. So I guess we'll do an intro to it now, and then we'll have a cliffhanger for when we go deep on this. But so long story short, I'm an entrepreneur sort of since birth. I started starting companies and organizations and building them during the 90s in the first IT era, and after a few different iterations in various shapes and forms of doing so, I found myself when I started my last my previous the last sort of startup scale up that I started was in 2004. It was a TV channel. And this was during the digital TV revolution. It was bootstrapped. No one was really using that term at the time, but it was we were fighting the media giants in a fantastic landscape of new TV media coming out. Crashed and burned that company, crashed and burned myself, and on my way working back from that, I realized that my true passion in life lies in building people. That's where I find myself as most motivated. That's where I find myself valuable. That's how I want to be valuable. So then and there, sometime, I sort of decided to make it my North Star in life to make myself as valuable as I can for entrepreneurs and the people who are trying to solve the important problems of our world. And that's putting me on a 15-year road that's been winding around and building, as you say, various shapes and forms of ecosystem support functions. And I think almost on a philosophical level, I think from an ecosystem perspective, I see that there are two parts to the ecosystem. One is the resources that are in them, and the other part is the connectivity between them. And what it's my sort of guiding star here is that how can I put myself in connection with as much resources as possible, and how can I connect those to other resources in that ecosystem? And that's how I try to position myself. And I think for anyone who wants to be an ecosystem builder or supporter, I think that's the sort of philosophy that you need to focus on is both the resource in itself and the interconnectivity between them.
I love it when you talked about entrepreneur from birth, and then you talked about building venture and then transition to building people, connecting resources, and trying to make a connection. I think great words over there. Now, you're joining us today from Seedrs Republic, and we are very keen on knowing what's Seedrs and Republic and what's your positioning in the funding ecosystem in the Nordics.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, as of January, I joined Seedrs, and Seedrs is a 10-plus-year-old organization, a funding organization from the UK that got acquired by Republic, which is the American sort of counterpart and to some extent collaborator previously, but they merged last year, and they're now on the first realization of a truly global ecosystem for connecting private investors to early startups on the terms of institutional and venture capital investors. So in short, I tend to describe this as crowdfunding for adults. It has the aspects of crowdfunding and the early days of Kickstarter and so on, of building fantastic communities and funding projects and so on. But it also has the terms and the quality aspects of really sound and responsible investments. So this is based on the fact that we have a bank license, and UK early on regulated this market. So they put that sort of the rules and regulations around how to do this. So we have to adhere to a lot of rules and regulations on how we do due diligence and how do we make sure that the investments are sound. And also we do a lot of due diligence on the investor side in terms of knowing your customer and making sure that these are the people that they're claimed to be and where the money comes from and things like that. So much of this is sort of a fintech and a legal tech platform that makes it possible for you as an entrepreneur to raise money from private investors and build investor communities. And the real resource here is really those communities, because it's the relationship that you build to your audience, to your customers, and to the people around your company that you can then scale with. You can make use of that community in a bi-directional way to test your products, to hire talent, to get into shelves of the stores that you need to be in, or just have a sort of consumer power to influence the environment that you're in, to create awareness around what your product or your solution is doing and so on. So it's a huge machine. We fund more than 300 companies in Europe every year.
Okay.
And we've raised, over the last 10 years, we've raised more than 3 billion pounds in more than 2,000 rounds. So there's a huge scale to this, and that's also what's really necessary to create this solution. Because if you don't have that scale, you're not going to be able to find investors for your startups and find startups for your investors that really can find each other.
I think this is Seedrs and Republic is in such good place in Nordics because you have that national, how would you say, natural knack for connecting. So, and when you're connecting the investor side with the startup side, I think this is going to be a huge positive momentum for startups going forward. Like if we go a little bit deeper into what you are involved in Seedrs, what would be your advice to founders? How should they integrate crowd equity and investor community in their startup journey? Like what should be the guiding principle there?
So I think first and foremost, I think it's a new type of funding for our region, and I definitely advise anyone on this call to go into Seedrs and check out the companies that are already there. Go in, register as an investor, put 100 kroner or something on something that you're passionate about to just sort of explore how this works, because it is to some extent a new way of building those relationships and creating that financial solution. So that's the first part. The other part is that when you then start building your company, you should start thinking about what is the value of network and community for your company. What is the relationship that you're building here? Is there a way for you to create network effect in and around the company? It's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's more and more a resource that many entrepreneurs and company builders can use. So start thinking about that. How do you build that relationship? It might not be that this is a solution for you to from the beginning, but start building that network. Start building that network of people and that stickiness around your company. And then when it's time for you to scale, sort of late seed Series A, when you have a product market fit, you're going into new markets, new geographies and so on. And when you can really start turning those screws on, then you connect your funding to your scaling, and in most cases it's about topping up a round of investment, an equity round or convertible round, and you reflect those terms towards your audience and make it possible for you to create the strongest relationship there is, which is skin in the game, the wallet relationship between you and your audience.
Very clear positioning. You talked about networks, you talk about community power, topping up, and when you're moving to post-seed and Series A, that's where it helps you probably tap into international markets. So great. And you also gave a very interesting advice to everybody. Just go out and explore the platform. But if we take a last question from you, like who in the audience should reach out to you if they got interested in knowing more about how you can help? If we can, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say this is a fantastic resource that we have. There's about more than 1 million investors already on the European platform. We have 1.5 million investors in the US, and this is practically a new resource that we're bringing into the Nordic region, because this is practically non-existing here. So therefore, there's huge interest in this, and I want to be available as much as I can for pretty much everyone. But I think the advice to the audience is that please reach out to me if you are currently raising somewhat, a seed or a late seed round or a Series A round or even later, and so that I can help you put the strategies together on how that fits into your racing strategy. And then anyone who really has this network and community at the core of their business. I've done community building it's been a part of my life for the last 15 years. So I really enjoy advising on how to do that. So sort of those two aspects is really where I can focus my time right now.
Awesome. Jonas, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights on ecosystem building, and then also talking about how Seedrs, Republic, and network effects can be built into a startup's journey in a very interesting way. And startups here can reach out to Jonas. Thank you, Jonas.
Thank you so much. It was great. And I look forward to go deeper in these rabbit holes, because this was a very, very small taste of what all of this is. But thank you so much, Naimul, and good luck, everyone, on scaling those companies and solving those problems.
Thank you so much. Thank you. May I now request Dr. Terhi to join us on the stage, and we can talk about Greencode. Thank you so much. First of all, a big thanks from our side at Founder Institute Nordics. We have requested you to join at our previous events as well, and you have been with us both at Nutty Ventures, Founder Institute, and other networks that we run. So a big thanks to you for being here for the entrepreneurs, I would say.
And thank you very much for having me. It's always super nice to be in this community. So thank you.
We are very excited to know about Greencode. You guys have recently launched a €40 million fund for global climate tech startups. But before we go there, I think for the community out here, could you kind of tell us about your background and your interest in investing? Let's start there.
So the long story maybe made short. So I'm in the field where I have always been at. So this is I'm an electrical engineer by training. So green transition and climate has always been a big driver to my career. And I have also a digital background, engineering background. So bringing these two elements together is very close to my heart, or what I have always been doing. And along the path, I'm kind of an accidental investor. So okay. I always wanted to be the founder. So that was always what I was thinking of. I built my own company, and I've been a founder. And when I was a founder, I also discovered that there were many things which I could have been doing faster, better, not failing in this way or that way. And I wanted to start sharing that. So that's how I became an angel investor. And angel investor, one thing led to another. So basically then eventually becoming a professional investor and a venture capitalist.
Awesome. And you have lately been working in climate and impact space. How would you give us a reading of that? What are some of the shortcomings do you see in the climate impact space, sustainability space ecosystems that we have?
So I think there's actually a lot of opportunities, and I even think that it's like thinking of it is the biggest transformation of our lifetime, and it's probably one of the most important questions of our lifetime to solve. So what I would encourage is basically all of the people in the audience to think of your skill set and capabilities. If you are starting a startup now, are you still thinking of what to do? So how to get those skills into the use of the purpose, so actually driving the impact into our planets. And that's of course because we need all hands on deck, and since we are dealing with a systemic problem, so it's not going to be solved with one silver bullet, but we need a lot of different solutions which are addressing parts of the problem, and therefore just think of what your skill set, what you could bring into this community.
Awesome. I love what you said, all hands on the deck, and the collective approach too, because the challenges are too big for a single person, single venture, single ecosystem, or single vertical to solve. So I think great points. Let's move to Greencode Ventures. You sent me a couple of slides as well. You want me to cue them in now?
Okay, sounds great.
Let's see. Yes, I hope these are visible. Maybe you can tell me if you can see them, if they're coming on screen. Yes.
At least I can see them.
Awesome. Let's go.
So this is a little internal joke, this picture. So we are tree huggers. So we want to go into this world of, trying to save the planet and finding those solutions. So we have a clear purpose of why we exist. Then if you move into the next slide, so at the same time, given that we are dealing with one of the biggest challenges, we are also facing with probably the biggest capital reallocation of our lifetime. So this is obviously the biggest number I have found. So this is a McKinsey report, which is stating that we should be investing 9.2 trillion euros annually on this field. This, of course, includes everything. So this is not just the venture money, but that kind of gives you the scale, what we are dealing with. So if you look at all these solutions, which we need for infrastructure, which we need into our factories, which we need into our economies at large, and bringing that tech, which can enable that transformation to happen so that we can keep on living on this planet. So this is, of course, venture capitalists, we are always eternal optimists. So for us, this represents when we say to the startups, you go into the market, which is big and growing. So clearly climate tech, obviously, and green transition is one of those markets at this stage to build on. Okay. If we then go forward, so obviously when we are dealing with such a big market, so you need to choose your niche. And we as a VC, so we are only focusing on green transition, but we have chosen a certain focus there. So we want to work with the startups which are there to create the most impact in this market. And we only focus on the early stage. So that's from our perspective, like seed to Series A plus. And when we look at the green transition, we prefer the capital light and faster scale type of business models, which typically tend to be digital first type of solutions. So that's kind of defining the scope of where we invest in and what would be like a good fit for our fund. Then if you go further. So basically that consists of, if you think about green transition as such, so we basically focus on 4 areas. So we focus on energy, we focus on mobility, we focus on, you could say, built environment, buildings and living, and industry. And when we say green industry, we typically mean the industry which is the most CO2 emission heavy, so that we can bring decarbonization solutions into these sectors. If we can influence these 4 sectors, we will make an impact. And then why we? So what can we bring to the startups? So it is this is clearly an area where our team has lots of experience. So we've been investing in this space for a long time. So not just jumping into the bandwagon when it becomes fashionable, but we've been here for a long time, and we know the market. We understand the substance matter behind it, and we also understand what does it take to found companies on this space, as well as what does it mean to even make industrial level transformation in this field. And And when you bring those two areas together, then of course we believe that substance matter expertise is there, and we want to bring it to the benefit of the startups to help. So that's basically what I wanted to say about Greencode Ventures, what we do.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope the screen is now off, and a very good introduction, very structured introduction. I would just like to understand here, what's your core positioning in the ecosystem? Like, where are you actually picking up founders or plan to pick up founders? And then what exact ticket size are you focusing on?
So,
are those things like, yeah.
Yeah, so if you look at our positioning, so we see ourselves, we are clearly a specialist. So
Okay.
we are a focused player in a green transition and climate tech era. But within that, we work in the intersection of, you could say, generalist tech funds and then green transition, since we focus on the capital light, faster scale, digital type of solutions. So that's our positioning. And in terms of the ticket, so we go up to €2 million initial ticket, and we always reserve a nice follow-on for the companies which are in a good path growing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for a very, very clear insight into Greencode Ventures, Dr. Terhi, and it's great to have you with us once again here. And we'll continue to have these discussions as we move forward with Founder Institute Nordics as the network spreads across. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My request would be if Carl-Henrik could join us from Almi, Stockholm, Sörmland. Let's see. You have hello. Nice sun on your face.
Exactly.
I don't have it. I'm sitting in my studio.
I should be honest, I'm sitting at the attic actually at home. So it's only depending on that the sun is quite high and the sun is coming in here. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you. And what an absolute honor to have you with us today, Carl-Henrik. A big thanks to you, a big thanks to Almi. And as with the previous two keynote talks, let's start by, if you could tell our community about yourself, how you became interested in startup ecosystem and your organization, Almi. Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And as many speakers before have said, it's a very good event. I mean, we can reach a lot of people, digital and all over the world also. So that's very good. My name is Carl-Henrik Koit. I'm managing director of Almi Företagspartner Stockholm Sörmland AB, and I have a background actually. I studied law at the university in Lund. But after that, I went into this session that is leadership. That is my best point, I think. I hope so anyway, since I've been working as a leader and things like that since 2000 and then I was actually head of the Swedish Trade Council in Estonia. I've seen quite a lot of Estonians in the chat here before, so I say hello to all my Estonian friends there. But then I started up actually in 2012. I went to Almi in Uppsala and I was head of the Almi there. And the ecosystem in Sweden is it's both extremely large, but in the meanwhile it's quite narrow in some way.
Yeah.
And of course, if we're talking about Almi, we are a quite big player in the ecosystem. We have offices all over the country. We have 500 employees. We have it within this Företagspartners, working with business developing and financing with loans and that kind of credits. And then we have 9 companies within Almi Invest, who's a venture capital company. So we are, as you could see or hear, we are quite a big player, but still we don't have the big money for that. So since we're a governmental part, we have quite a lot of money, but still not as much as the big players in the venture capital business, of course. And my background before that, I've been in the banking business, I've been in the venture capital business, I've been in a bankruptcy thing with a textile company, and I have had my own company, and I have my own company in some way. I like the entrepreneurship. It's so important for both Sweden and for the world actually to solve all those problems out there, because we have some problems, as the former speaker has said. And I think we have the entrepreneurs and the innovation. That's the ones who will probably solve those problems actually. So I hope really that most of you out there are looking for startups within sustainability, or in some way thinking of this sustainability thing, because that will be actually the thing that we should work with in the future in some way. But still, in my work, I feel that all the companies out there, we need them. I mean, even the pizza guy is very needed, or the cleaning company, or the hairdresser, because even if you have those very good universities and professors and everything there, we need to have the pizza should be delivered there also. So those people there can actually provide us with a new technical and other ideas. So in my opinion, it's a symbiosis between the small companies and the high-tech companies, and we need everything in that sense.
Very interesting point that you make, and I think that's the beauty of Almi, because you work anywhere from the high-tech startup space, but you also work with traditional companies. You also work with companies which are Tillväxt or growth-focused companies. So you have a pretty broad canvas when it comes to the startup support. But if we kind of focus on the startup side, and let's take a minute, what specific way Almi helps early stage entrepreneurs? Like, is it loans? Is it some sort of grants? How does that work?
It's actually a combination of both loans. We have some grants, and it's within the innovation phase. Then we can put some grants for the founders and entrepreneurs there. But otherwise, in Företagspartner, we're working with the loans. And different loans. Of course, it's the first step is a small loan that you start with, a micro loan, but we also have a growth loan who's for company that is having the next step in the growth session. And then we also have a green loan, actually, that is, it's heading a bit more for, I shouldn't say bigger companies, but it's a more difficult way to get this green loan. It's an EU composition of this loan. It means also that there's some administration regarding that. So the last one we actually put out there was, it's in total 38.5 million Swedish krona. So it's not so small. But then we have those 100,000 Swedish krona microloan also. And in our world, both of those are so important for the total society in some way. But for the startups, I mean, then we have an innovation loan also that we're working quite a lot with. So that means that we can help companies with, that's a soft loan actually, that we can help companies in this early phase. And if you don't succeed with your innovation, for example, then this will be written off actually. Otherwise, Almi is like usual financial partners. We have securities and whatever, collaterals and things like that for all our loans in that sense. But this innovation loan is a soft loan, as we say.
Awesome. Then for the community that is joined here today, as far as I understand, you said that you have several offices, more than 500 people connected to the Almi's network internally working. So typically you operate in Sweden, and then if you have a startup in a region, you will approach a local Almi office. That's how it would work.
Exactly. And then we have, of course, Almi Invest, which is this venture capital part also.
Okay.
And as we have been talking about earlier regarding VC and VC funds, it's a bit more, I should say, specialized. You need to have a bit more. It's much more difficult to get the VCs on the spot. Actually, you have to really have the team, and then also this kind of global market. And it's also that you should grow fast, and you should have. It's always also quite high risk actually in that sense. But still, I mean, Almi Invest is one of the biggest venture capital companies in the early phase actually in Northern Europe. So we are trying to have a lot of companies also within Almi Invest. But I usually say that Almi Företagspartner and with the loans and with the business advising, we are like a sawmill. We are producing a lot actually, and it turns out to be a lot of different things out there. And Almi Invest is like a carpentry. It's they are sitting there and trying to figure out how to fix this small tree as best as possible. And sometimes there's only sawdust coming out from it, because in the VC business it's quite tough to pick out the right companies that will be the ones that will grow enough to be the real star. But still, we're looking at most of the time, to go back to Almi, we're looking for the team, the entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter if it's VC or if it's like our loan. or business development. It's always the entrepreneur we're looking at, and the team behind there.
Okay, very interesting. You mentioned about team, because it's very early stage when startups are approaching Almi, and also for the clarity between Almi and Almi Invest. They are joining us on the next panel. But as a last word on our discussion, you have been in several fields. You talked about law, banking, Estonia, entrepreneurship yourself, leadership. That's your passion. So based on all that amalgam of insights and experiences, what would you say are signs of success in an early stage startup or founder? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually. And I grew up on in a farm in Småland, and Småland is known also by an author called Astrid Lindgren, authored by many children books and things like that. And her philosophy, and you can notice that in all her people out there, the small figures in those fairy tales, it's the curiosity and the courage that you need to have. And I think that's also actually things for the entrepreneurs to think about. You need to have curiosity for what is happening out there. You need to have customer knowledge. You have to acquire knowledge in many different ways. And you also have to have the courage to both fail sometimes, and of course, hopefully most of the times to be successful. But then also, of course, you have the classical one. You have to have the attitude and the positive thinking. But most of the time, you have to be really focused and discipline and perseverance also, for sure. And I think nowadays you have to think about sustainability in your startup early, because it will be so important for the world that every company has to take some small steps in this part of sustainability. But I think also the cooperation thing. That's the Seedrs we're talking about. Everyone is looking for cooperation and for networking and to build knowledge and to build potential customers, whatever. And I think that is also extremely important. But you talked about the thing first. The passion is actually one of the most important things, because if you don't have the passion for what you're doing, you will never succeed. It doesn't matter if you're an employee or if you're a leader or if you're an entrepreneur. The passion has to be there for the things that you're doing. And I think actually the passion word will, that's for me one of the most important thing, actually. And have fun, of course, and even if it's tough times right now, or it will be tough times for most of the companies out there sometimes. So I mean, we have to have fun, even though it's quite heavy.
Awesome. Like, that is such a nice, how would you say, in 2 minutes, you have put all entrepreneurship in a compendium. So I think, thank you so much for that. I just started here with Småland. That's a common background. When I arrived in Sweden, Småland was the place where I arrived in. Loved the place. It was in Kronoberg and Kalmar and that area. So, but for our community here, very important, like these are gold words. Maybe write this as a flowchart. I was trying to make a flowchart here. Start with passion, and then you talked about curiosity and courage. And then you brought in the discussion about cooperation, sustainability in the center, and having fun. Don't forget the fun part. Carl-Henrik, thank you so much for such an insightful talk. Very compressed, very productive, very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And take care, Estonia, also.
Thank you so much. I'll now. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here. Let's kick off our panel discussion. First of all, a big thanks to Chris. You're joining us from node.vc. Preben, you're joining us from Innovation Norway. Tiina, you are joining us from FiBAN. Is that how you pronounce Finnish Business Angels Network? And Natasa, you are joining us from Almi Invest. We actually started discussing Almi Invest in Carl-Henrik's keynote. But thank you all for being here. I would just say, if you could take a couple of minutes each and give us a quick introduction about you, your organization, and the role that you're playing in the Nordic ecosystem. Let's start with you, Chris. Let's talk about you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here, and thank you, Naimul, for organizing this panel. It's really, I think we've been on there a couple of times actually at Node by now, and it's a good way for us. It's a great way for us to get our message across. So yeah, I can just tell you a bit about myself and then tell you a bit about node.vc. I am an engineer by education, but I've been working with growth investing my entire career. I started at the very, very late stages with companies who had a lot of revenue, like 10 million euros and upwards, but realized pretty quickly that if you want to work with technology and disruption, you really want to be in the earlier stages. So I've slowly but surely been moving down towards earlier companies. I have worked with M&A and investments at a publicly listed company in Sweden called Tobii, which is the global leader in eye tracking, before I started my career in pure play venture capital in 2018. And in 2022, I co-founded together with 7 other people node.vc. And we raised capital in March, which we closed, and now we are full throttle in finding good Nordic entrepreneurs to invest in. So we invest between 0.5 to 2.5 million euros mainly in seed stage companies and mainly in the Nordics. And my role is in the Nordic ecosystem is that I meet founders every day. I chat with them, and occasionally I invest in them as well. And when I've done that, I work with them after investment.
Thank you, Chris, for your background. Interesting journey at Tobii, success story and eye tracking. But a quick follow-up question here. Do you focus on any particular vertical at node.vc? Have you kind of picked up, let's say, technology, let's say, I don't know, or are you sector agnostic or vertical agnostic?
So we focus on the entrepreneurs. Whatever the best entrepreneurs are doing, that's what we want to be investing in. Then we have themes that arise from that organically. And we are very interested right now in new experiences, the way people interact with each other and digitally, that those kinds of businesses are very interesting to us. We are very interested in smarter workplaces, how people can collaborate in various ways and also spend their time on the right things, and also platform technologies, which is the underlying technology behind all of this. Softer themes that we may or may not change depending on how things evolve.
Thank you, Chris. Let's talk to Natasa. Again, you're coming from the VC background and organization. So if you could tell us about you, your organization, and role you're playing in the Nordic startup and funding ecosystem.
Thank you, Naimul, and hi, everyone. It's really great to be here.
Thank you.
I'm working in, I don't know, many of you might have been in contact with Almi Invest, at least the audience from Sweden. And we are a public VC company, and we are about 50 investment managers working all across Sweden. We are present in all different regions of Sweden, and we call ourselves actually the most active investor. It doesn't say much. We're not the biggest, not the best, but we certainly do most investments in Sweden. And that in itself, I think, is kind of builds lots of experience. And I think that whatever situation the company can get into, I think somebody has seen it or had to handle it already. So it's a great pool of knowledge and experience. in the company. When it comes to myself, I am a computer engineer who started working developing robots and excavators and wheel loaders, who became project manager, who became sort of working in a startup, trying to establish radiation therapy in developing countries. And first, when I was at that place, I think we've had to pitch for about 100 investors on that journey. And that is when I came in touch with venture capital and all different kinds of processes around investments and so on. And that is where my journey started. After that, I've held roles. I've been a consultant. I have been working at Vinnova, Swedish innovation agency, as well, internationalizing Swedish innovation ecosystem. But I've always had this passion for investments. So I've been for quite some time co-owner of angel investment syndicate in Sweden. And that's how I actually myself got in touch with Almi Invest, because important thing to know about Almi Invest that we only co-invest with private investors. So we love to share deal flows. We love to keep a big network of co-investors. And actually, we cannot invest alone. Since we're a public VC, there has to be private investment in every round that we join. And that is actually how I came in touch with Almi Invest, because I was a private investor doing due diligence, and I was doing it together with Almi Invest people that are my colleagues today. So that's a little bit about my background. Otherwise, Almi Invest is, as I said, we are present in all of the country. We have 9 big funds, 9 funds, and one client. Most of them are regional. So you really need to know which. You have to find out who to turn to, because everyone can invest only in their region, except for one fund, which is the Green Tech Fund. Okay. And Green Tech Fund is national, and they can invest much bigger. They can take much bigger tickets. And the Green Tech Fund is investing in in CO2 reducing solutions, while the rest of the Almi Invest can actually invest in anything. We don't have a specific branch or specific business, but there are, of course, some criteria, which I think we will get into, of course, that have to be met. And we are really early stages, when basically us and angel investors, or us and early pre-seed VCs.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your background, from computer engineering to robotics to project manager, startups, and 100 investors chasing. I think there must be some rule, like you need to chase 200 investors for the first deal to land. Startups need to kind of have some heuristic behind that. But very interesting background over there. And a couple of points because I see some questions coming up here. Mikko, hi Mikko, thank you for your question. Does Almi accept Finnish companies? So as far as I understand from what you said, you are public, you go in only when there is significant private interest as well. So you kind of top up the deal, or kind of do 50-50, whatever way you do it. But then you are Sweden focused. Is that correct? Or
that is correct. Yes, we're Sweden focused, and you have to have a Swedish registered company so that we would be able to invest in it. We do have some Finnish venture capital companies that are invest in Sweden. So we do co-invest with Finnish or companies from other countries, but to get our investment, the company itself needs to be Swedish.
Awesome. So that was like for our community here, that was perspective from 2 VCs, one from the public sector and node.vc, which is from the private sector, one Swedish, one at the Nordic scale. But let's move to Norway. And let's move to a little bit on the public grants or funding, how that works. So Preben, let's see if we can see you. Yeah, your focus is not that very. Yeah.
The focus just shifted, it looks like.
happens sometimes, the technology.
Hello.
So maybe you can take the thumb in front of your camera, like just I did, and it kind of resets it sometimes. No, okay, doesn't matter. Let's see how this
Well,
goes.
I guess I'm good looking and blurry as well. Even have the bear glasses on. Pretend. No, okay. So yeah, my name is Preben Fjellaker Mathisen. I work as a financial advisor in Innovation Norway. So basically what I do every day, I do for a living, is to assess applications from early stage startups who seek government funding.
Okay.
So yeah, and our financial tools are typically grants or loans or a combination of those. And for those of you who are not familiar with Innovation Norway, it is an independent entity under the Norwegian government. And the department would be Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries, which is like directly translated. So we are the industry, the policy instrument under government for the aim of developing value creation companies and stimulate economic growth throughout Norway. Basically, how we are organized is that we have 18 offices locally spread across Norway, and we have 26 offices abroad. So we try to take the companies from early stage in the local markets and take them out to the international markets. And personally, I work in the Oslo Viken office, and there we have a team which are specialized in startups. I would say that the typical companies that I see are the same as would attend the Founder Institute and such, that we see like are in the process of assembling the team and getting their first round of funding. So I guess like a lot of my work is financial, like looking one side is financial part of it, but also innovation methodology, and especially the early stage. And the purpose of our grants is to stimulate investors such as yourself to co-invest in these companies, and we are there basically to take down the risk. Yeah, we see about 40% of being in Oslo, we see about 40% of the applications from Norway. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
That's my
awesome. Thank you so much, Preben. And great, you're back in picture. Yes, the camera is working. Thank you so much for introduction there. And Tiina, let's move to you. We already had a question somewhere. Let me see if I can, the chat was there. But please go ahead with your introduction, and then in the meantime, I'll locate the question I had on the chat. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here. So my name is Tiina Laisi Puheloinen, the CEO of Finnish Business Angels Network. I started in this position at the beginning of May. Shortly, my background after graduation from the University of Helsinki, 1995, so many years ago. I worked in Finnish Defense Forces, and I've served 1 year also in Kosovo in NATO operation as a civil military officer. I'm still very active in Finnish Defense Forces, and I was actually the first woman in Finland to be promoted to major in reserve. So I can tell you that I am startup-friendly major. And since 2005, I have worked in business life and mostly in sales and management roles. And 2018, I was invited to lead a startup called Pricef. Pricef offers autodynamic SaaS services, and I built and led the company as a minor partner from the startup phase to growth state. So I know from experience how hard work fundraising is, and that is why it's great to work at FiBAN, where I can help startups to get funding. And about FiBAN shortly, it's one of the oldest and the biggest business angel networks in Europe. It was established 2010, and we have around 670 members. And last year, our members invested approximately 38 million euros to startups, mostly in Finnish, but besides besides Finland, 40 to 50% of our angels are interested in investing in Nordic and Baltic countries as well. So this is shortly, and FiBAN is in a way, our members are paying or our salaries, so we don't get, we are not public funded. We get some EU projects, or we are having some EU projects, but mostly it's funded by our members.
Awesome.
That's
Thank
short.
you. Thank you so much, Tiina. Thank you for your background, for you being in defense forces as well. So that's a great part of the journey, but great to know about FiBAN as well. I was actually locating this question because Majid here had a question. I should say there is no real solution for early stage startups to attract investment in Finland. I tried most of investment ventures. So I'll try to bring this in before we move on to our main discussion, because angel investment is very fragmented. It's very difficult to identify individual angels. So if there are startups who are in need of early stage investment from angels, is FiBAN a direct connection, or is it an ecosystem organization representing only the angel side? Like, do you work on that side, or do you have a startup funnel side or a face as well?
Yeah, we have a funnel. We are organizing Pitch Finland event every year.
Okay.
It's organized 8 times per year, and last year we got something like around 600 applications. And if you go to our website fiban.org, you can find there a link where you can apply for funding.
Okay. Awesome. So Majid, I hope you got an answer to your question, but thank you so much everyone for being here. Let's move to our more detailed discussion on startup funding. In your view, for example, Founder Institute works a lot with really early stage, like we are a pre-seed accelerator. So we are generally meeting founders at, as I was explaining at the very beginning, when they're just setting up the venture. Sometimes they have not even created a company. They're just validating, they're just forming a team. And when it comes to raising the first round, or when we are talking about the pre-seed or seed funding situation right now, as it looks for startup, what would be your take as to how the general funding situation is looking in the Nordics or in your particular region or area that you are working in? How is the stage of very early stage funding? And we can go, however, you can raise a hand and we can go in that order, or just open the mic and say.
Well, maybe I can.
Tiina, please go ahead.
Okay, maybe I can start.
Okay.
We are actually renewing our strategy, and we have made a member survey for that purpose. And the results will be ready next week, but I can share some information with you already.
Awesome.
And for example, now 50% of our members are actively monitoring, and they are willing to invest annually. And there are around 20%, 5% are looking for 1 to 2 investments, and around 11% of our members are looking for more than 3 investments annually. So there is still interest in investing or funding early stage startups. And what comes to public funding in Finland, at least I have yet not heard any changes for that. And unfortunately, I don't have any statistics for what, for example, what's the situation with VCs, but what I have discussed with them, that they have told that they are putting more effort into the portfolio companies than looking for new startups. But unfortunately, I don't have any statistic for that, only discussion information.
Awesome. Like that's a good point. You said that there is interest, as you can see in your angel network, and the size was more than 700, as you said. Like the FiBAN community, how big is it?
670 members.
670 members.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said that VCs are more on the portfolio side. Let's hear from VCs. Chris, you were saying something, I hope. Yeah,
Tiina, I agree with you that there's probably a lot of work going into sort of many portcos about figuring out what to do when the sort of later stage fundraising doesn't work, which one to back, which ones to deploy in that. However, my feeling, and I don't have any data on this, but I do speak a lot to my peers, and my sense is that a lot of the VCs in the seed stage are still capable and willing to deploy.
okay.
I think that the markets right now are very interesting from an investment perspective, even though some VCs are deploying more slowly because it takes longer to fundraise. But for instance, Node, we just raised 55 million euros that we are going to deploy into 25 companies in the next couple of years, and that makes a big difference. And I think few of, or none that I can think of actually, of the VCs that are in this space, in the seed area, has shut down shop. Like everyone is active, deals are still happening.
Okay.
But just one final thing that I want to say is that raising capital from a VC has never been easy, right? In 2021, it was very hard. And as I said, like we meet like 1,000 in companies per year. We probably make 7 or 8 investments in a good year. Like that's the odds, like in general, right? So it might be harder now, but it was hard back then too. Like it's not something that's ever easy, I think. But...
Got it. How is the situation in Norway? And when we talk about maybe non-VC side, the work that you are doing in Innovation Norway, for example, what's the pulse that you read? Preben, over to you.
So for the applications that we get in, which I see as like my scope, is like real applications. In general, they get the funding. I mean, they apply for us and they get the funding. So they have early stage investors, and it's looking out in the ecosystem. There's capital being allocated to like in the ecosystem and also the funds. So there's no red flags basically currently. So and also like if you are to like speculate a little bit, you can look at the stock exchange, which was like all-time high now. So obviously there's stuff going on in the capital markets. But I think for the startups, what could affect them the most in the upcoming times is the interest rates.
Okay.
And the cost of living is getting higher also. So basically for the entrepreneurs, they will have a higher alternative cost of not being employed in a regular job. And as the cost of living is getting higher, they might have a shorter runway to invest in a startup in early stage. And I think that's like from early stage startups, I guess how they will notice it will be like the human capital and like getting the team in place. Like that's my thoughts on the macro perspective. Yeah.
Really interesting. You brought in cost of living and interest rate, but you also mentioned no red flags in the zone that you are operating in. So, great points over there. Natasha, how do you read it? Because you defined, if I go back to my notes here, most active investors, because that's how you were trying to position, or how Almi Invest positions itself. So, are you as active as you have been in the recently? Yeah.
I mean, yes, definitely. We are trying to be even more active, since we see it as our role as a public VC to sort of maybe take bigger responsibility when the markets go down.
Okay.
But we notice it. We're very active in all of our companies, and we're right there in the boardroom, sweating with them and celebrating with them and whatnot. And it is harder actually to attract capital. And it's harder also. Our experience is it's become harder to attract private capital. It's even we trying to embrace this role of taking bigger responsibility, have to sort of prioritize, just like Tiina said, to the existing companies, to try to, we have to have some buffers so that we can help save them if needed, rather than invest in new companies, which and I think another trend we have seen that some of the private investors have also trying to pull the brakes, sort of maybe getting rid of some staff in some cases, or taking a more passive role in investments, and that has not yet spread too much yet, but it's definitely there, and it hasn't been there earlier. So to this sort of negative picture, I think the positive picture of it is that the startups are really the ones that are getting invested in are really good, and the companies sort of have to do be more crisp about their business idea, and to see what is going to fly and what is not. So I think that is that's what we see is happening.
Very good points, because we have multiple for our community here. Chris, you have a question here. Do you have any country-specific requirements or invest in all Nordic entrepreneurs? So maybe you can take that offline while we stick on the main discussion. The point here is very interesting thoughts, because since we are working in different domains, so like, for example, Preben, you're working in a different domain, and then Tiina, you're working in the angel side, and then Natasa, your own experience is in angel side, but you are also in public VC, and then Chris, you are in the VC side. To me, what I'm summarizing here, this seems to be some sort of a stage question. So stage question is maybe early stage still is buoyant, I would say, because it's still angel money, it's public grants, it's where very, very early hinges need to be fixed for startups for them to move on. While as you move to later stage, that's where VCs are also becoming more like kind of they're reassessing their portfolio. Maybe some down rounds are happening. Like the later stage is where, so maybe it's a stage thing, but Preben, you also discussed something very interesting of the general economic environment over here in startup building. And that's where, Natasa, you brought in a point of like startups that are good. I kind of read it that they will get funded if you are good, passionate, and the points Carl-Henrik was also mentioning from like passionate and taking the courage. So really interesting discussion. Let's try to bring it to the next point where, for example, for founders who are raising money today or planning to raise in the next few months, let's say, what advice would you generally give them to successfully navigate the process of their early raise? And how should they go about building relationship with investors? When they're talking to them, what should they talk about? So let's move on to the founder side and try to help them in terms of what's the best way for them to make sure that they can actually pick up money from the market for their idea to move ahead.
I can.
Yeah, please go
start.
ahead.
No, I think it's really it's more important than ever really to address a real problem, to have a solution to be a need to have solution rather than nice to have, and to sort of validate and prove this product market fit. To really be able to show that this is what market is actually needing, not wanting, but really needing. So I think that's a good start. And when it comes to investors, I think really the advice is really start early and actually be in contact with investors and pitch your company. It takes at least 6 to 12 months in a normal market to raise money. Now it might be even longer. And it's also important, like there are some mistakes which can be unnecessary to make if you just start talking to investors early and make sure they don't happen. That's just to make sure that your company is attractive for investors later on. So don't wait too long.
Okay, awesome. So address a real problem, product market fit, and start early. Good points. Let's have more opinions from the panel. What else should founders do? Yeah, please go ahead.
So a couple of things. Some advice that I gave both in like 2020 and 2021 when the markets were a little bit better than now, and I still give. The first one is very simple, which is you need to talk to a lot of investors.
Okay.
It's like, because I've seen it from both sides, right? I've seen companies come to me, but I also raise capital with my portfolio companies. And like the most common thing is that like your long list, your so-called long list is like 15 names. It needs to be more than 100 names. For companies who are coming to us, I mean, most founders in the Nordics who are raising a seed stage round, they come to us because we're kind of like in your face. We've been here like 3 times, for instance. But like there are also a lot of investors who aren't that, who are a little bit more behind the curtains. They might be very interested in your industry that you're doing, etc. So those guys, you need to find out who they are for your what you're doing, and you need to be in touch with them as well. And you need to run a really tight process, because that really makes a huge difference, because you notice that as an investor. Like I notice when the founders are on it, when they are like following up quickly, when they are asking me how our process is going, how is the process with the startup going, like and that takes time. Like fundraising is a real job that occupies a significant portion of a CEO or someone in the management or founder team. Like it's not something that you do on the side. I think normally that's how it works. And then the second thing, like I don't think that you should be too opportunistic, because a startup will go through phases where fundraising is harder, and like I don't like when founders are too just like opportunistic. They need to be convinced in what they do, and that shouldn't really, it shouldn't change just because I want to hear something. But like I don't think that you should bet on the markets being better in 18 or 24 months. And that I said in 2021, which turned out to be correct, because now the markets are a bit more frothy. But you should never do that, basically. Every fundraising you do should have the option to take you to profitability, is my view, because you don't know when you are going to be able to raise money next time. So I think, and that's probably even more important to highlight now, to figure out that plan. Like how are you going to break even in 24 months when the round you're raising now is out?
Awesome. So great points over there. Like talk to investors early, keep the engagement high. You also talked about a very important point here, that don't swing, hold your ground as a founder. So I think that's important. But then also kind of reading ahead into the market of the next 18 to 24 months and looking at your operations, how your startup is going to reach there. So it's a long game, which will take time of the CEO to raise funding. So very good points. Tiina, what would you say from, because you have a network of angels, like what are the secondary signals you get when you are talking to your network? What do angels expect from startups, for example? Like they're not VCs, for example. So they're not institutional investors. So what's their expectations, and what can startups do to kind of make their case more digestible, investable for?
Okay, thanks. Good question. But actually, I could add to those
please.
like Chris' speech a little bit, that be active and never give up. So
okay.
That's something. And actually, we asked from our members that what they are expecting, that what the startups should have right now. And 50% of our members, they expect that startup is at the MVP stage.
Okay.
And almost 50% are expecting that they have already customers, not tens of customers, but at least some customers. And as well, they are expecting that they should have some kind of go-to-market strategy. And around 35% expect revenue. And only 10% of our members are ready to invest in idea stage startups. So even though it's angel investments, very early stage, but still you need to have at least some attraction. Not only that, oh, I have this idea. So it's not necessarily working here in Finland.
I love it, because now we have some statistics behind the talk. And when you say that 10% idea stage, and when what you were explaining, for example, 50% would say they need startups which are, I'm just reviewing my notes, MVP stage, have customers, go to market. So I think what I hear from you is they're looking for some sort of tangible signs that this is going to work, and that tangibility can come from either the product side, like being MVP, prototype, or something that you can visualize. Go to market, not a fluffy talk on, oh, we'll acquire 5,000 users by investing on digital marketing, but chop, more hands-on and customers. So really great points. Let's hear from you, Preben, because you are assessing a lot of inflow of these applications which are coming from early stage ideation or startups. And then what is your advice to startups to kind of rise up from the others and succeed in their process of attracting grants, and what innovation Norway has to offer?
I think looking at the process, I think like the number one advice is to tap in on the ecosystem, like startups who are participating in meetings such as this, and accelerator programs and being around the ecosystem and networking. That's like number one, because that's where you get in contact and build a network. And then in terms of like getting the capital into the company, I think the keyword would be to start small and not necessarily. There's a trade-off in like diluting the stocks too early and losing the control of the company. On the other side, you need cash to grow and fund development. But I think by starting small, you get validation. So for instance, like if you go to Almi Invest, I can imagine that the probability of getting funding is higher if you've been to FiBAN before, or we have like similar investors from the get-go. It's like validation. It's like just trying to classify yes and no. Like, oh, they said yes, so maybe it's good. It's that simple. And that's how we see it also when the applications come in. I always look for the validation. We have processing so many applications every day that you can't go in detail and assess the product market fit in each case, or the business plan and such. You just need to find the validation. It's validation in terms of the customers and the commercial activities, validation from the investors of getting the cash. So, and when we speak to the startups who apply for funding at us, I guess the first thing that we're looking for is like trust and transparency, and just getting, because we're trying to understand the company and what they're doing, and actually what we are co-investing in is the uncertainties. And if they're, and I guess maybe sometimes it can be interpreted, uncertainties can be interpreted as a weakness, but we don't see it like that. We see it as a way of performing critical thinking. And it's a good way to and it creates more trust and credibility to the team if they can actually see or map out different ways and meeting those uncertainties with agility potentially.
Got it. Very interesting points on a broad canvas. I'm seeing, I think your point on being connected to a network is spot on. Being part of an accelerator, because that kind of opens up new doors. Any accelerator, because accelerator's job is to just push you. Because as a founder, you might be just focused on a single track, but startup is like running 6 wheels together in the same direction. Like there is traction, there is investor outreach, there is validation to be done. So all these things. And then you talked about validation and then trust and transparency. I think really great discussion so far. If we were to round it off in the next 3-4 minutes, and I'm just trying to figure out what can we round it off. So let's say in the current climate that we have, or how the situation, whatever the situation is, we are seeing that early stage is probably doing okay. There are no red flags. I'm just borrowing that word from here, from some of our discussion. Do startups need to change fundamentally in this climate? And what should be a startup's focus right now to move ahead? If they are early stage, what should they be really doing as a CEO, as a founding team? What should be the focus? What should be the primary focus of startup to succeed in building the startup? We can round off the discussion in the next couple of minutes over there. Yeah.
I can go first, maybe.
Yeah.
I can just say that this won't be forever. Things change, and things always change in the sort of life cycles of a company, as I mentioned earlier. But if you're sort of wondering, or thinking about which tactical decisions to make, a few observations on that.
Okay.
The first is that engineering talent is cheaper now than it was before. There are a lot of people who previously worked at Klarna, etc., who have gotten laid off, and those types of roles are becoming fewer, and those people might be easier to get to join a startup. So product engineering, R&D people, easier to get, whereas customer acquisition costs are increasing slightly.
Okay.
Which means marketing is more expensive, product R&D cheaper. So I think perhaps at the margin, I mean, you can think of this as a downturn. Some people think of it more as a build cycle, and I think this is the time to invest in building. Is really good rather than marketing.
Thank you, Chris. Any other views in the panel? Any closing thoughts?
I definitely agree. It's really building great teams is really important, and now as ever, and to build a quality company. And I think in our experience, actually, the team is the companies that have succeeded is thanks to the team, and the companies that have not succeeded is also because of the team. And even when there are problems, if they survive, it's thanks to the team. So really, I would like to stress that. But another thing is that, of course, to look also how you can. I think profitability is important. That you can keep that it's not only the future potential, that you can also show that you can survive in the meantime.
Great points, Natasha. And would you like to round up from your side, Tiina? Any last thoughts for founders who are building brilliant ventures going forward? And then we can close off with Preben.
Okay, thanks. Actually, I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
So.
All right. Good. Preben, any parting thoughts for the entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so if you look in the news today, there is floods and hurricanes and drought all over the place, and it has effects on food and living and cost of living and such, and that is problems. And what are startups looking for? Problem solution fit, and I guess underneath. Yeah, product market fit, and underneath it's like a pain and gain from the customers. So it's a good time for startups to address the real issues. And also from the government side and looking at the regulation and such coming from you, there's like there's definitely a shift and a mega trend in terms of on that that industry, looking at the true crisis. Yeah, so I think it's good to pursue. Good time for startups to pursue those. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. A big thanks to all the panelists here. Tiina, thank you for joining us from FiBAN, Chris from Node, Natasa from Almi Invest, and Preben from Innovation Norway. Guys, thank you so much for your insightful discussion, experiences, and advice to the entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Pleasure. Thank
And
you.
good luck with the
Hello.
fundraising.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And we are at the pitching stage. We had a very, very interesting and a very, like, it's been chop, like really interesting discussion, starting with Jonas Almeling, then Dr. Terhi came in and talked about Greencode Ventures, and then Almi, and then the last funding panel. But now for our community here, we are moving to our pitching session. But before we head into your pitches in the next 5-7 minutes, a big thanks to all our panelists and pitch experts and jury over here. So thank you so much for joining us, Andrew, Annette, Charlotte, Elsa, and Emil. Emil, I don't see your video, so maybe there is something to be fixed. Oh no, maybe you can rejoin and I can bring you in again if there is an issue. But in the meantime, I would say, let's start with a quick introduction from each one of you. So tell us about yourself, your specialization or organization, and how you help and support startups, and maybe 1 or 2 words about pitching from your perspective. If we start with, let's say, Andrew, let's start with you.
Hey, hi, everybody. I'm Andrew Hennigan. I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden, where I am a freelancer. And among other things, I work on helping people to pitch better, to speak better in general, and how to be more persuasive. I work with big companies, universities, the Swedish government, and of course, startups, sometimes through accelerators like Founder Institute or other things. And sometimes they come to me individually. And my view is that everybody can get not just better, but dramatically better. I've tested this with a number of startup founders who had a very sort of boring pitch. And after a little bit of work, they can wow everybody. And this is something anybody can learn. It's not something that you need any special gift to do. It's all technique.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Annette, would you like to go next?
So what was the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's about you. Tell us about yourself, how you help startups, and any quick note on pitching. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm Annette Nordvall, of course. I'm a venture partner with Butterfly Ventures. I've been investing in tech startup for the past 30 years. Always wanting to see that you can sell what you are developing. So if you're working together with a customer, you should tell everyone what you're doing and the reason why you think this would be the best thing that you can sort of move forward onto. But always make sure that you are. We will always ask you if you are making any money, when you think you're going to make money, or the innovation in itself, is if it has an IP and so forth. We always love to have more than one founder participating in the pitch. So do it together with the one that you're working together with, and we will be extremely happy to see you there. And everything is, I mean, now we're pitching each 1-on-1, I understand that. But when we meet up, we want to see more of you and how you collaborate. So that's what we like.
Thank you so much, Annette. Charlotte, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm also a fellow founder, just like most people here. I've spent the last 4 years probably pitching about 2,000 times. So I know it's a pain. We also, in my startup, raised money from a lot of angels and a bunch of VCs, 3 VCs. And now I actually work at Sting, which is the original sort of Stockholm-based accelerator and incubator. And as head of investor relations, my role is to matchmake the right investors with the right startups in our portfolio. And I work very closely with all the startups here and pitch coach them, but also get them prepared for fundraising. And my take or my 2 cents about pitching is to always start with a story before you make the slides, because I see a lot of times a lot of founders that, oh, but this slide took me so many hours to make. I have to keep it in the deck, but it kind of misses the point of the whole story. And also the other thing is know your audience. So if you are doing, you know, a super deep tech thing, but you know that the VC on the other side, quite frankly, doesn't understand your space, then rather speak to people like myself as well, a little bit as if we're 5-year-olds, and then deep dive, then assuming that everyone is as smart as you. So those are just some top of mind things.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you for sharing your background as an entrepreneur, also with your what you're doing now at Sting, and also advice to the entrepreneurs. Let's move to Elsa.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yeah,
yes.
Perfect. I'm Elsa, and I am here today on behalf of myself as an angel investor and startup advisor, where I do help out companies at a very, very early stage. It's a broad range of topics. I'm a generalist, so I can fit in a little bit here and there, but I definitely focus on fundraising strategy and investment readiness. I have a background as an operator from several tech startups and scale-ups here in Sweden, amongst others Northvolt and Trustly, where I spent 4 years, and we grew from 50 to 400 employees during this time. I am very excited today. This is a different setting than last time I was on this panel. 1-minute pitches that are more like very, very fast, a lot of speed, so it's going to be fun. But I can just some takeaways for startups when they're pitching, and I will echo Charlotte a little bit there. Storytell is super important. Build your story. And also know who is in front of you. I had exactly the same example as Charlotte, which tells you quite a lot. Like, think about it as we are, 5 years old, sitting in front of you, or try to find the right investor to pitch for, but also practice a lot and ask for feedback when you do so from people around you or whoever you pitch for, so that your message is clear. A lot of times you think that it's very simple, but it's not always the case. And you also need to state the real problem, and preferably that's a problem that is towards a target group that you can find globally, or at least at scale. And that means that you will be able to kind of scale with your customers as well. Yes.
Thank you, Elsa. Thank you for being here. You were with us at the Nordic Startup Festival recently on 1st September, if I remember correctly. Really great feedback and really great work from you over there. And just for the audience over here, Nutty Ventures is going to be doing in the end October. There is a massive pitch event we do every year. It's called Nordic Pitch Battle. Just last year we had pre-seed, seed, and Series A tracks, and also probably an idea track. So we'll have 3 to 4 tracks. I'll request the team here to put we are doing an early call to pitches for that, so you can just go in and send your pitch. You have a higher chance of getting in the earlier you get in. But thank you for being here. Emil, I see we can't see your video, so that's unfortunate. That would have been such a nice session. Yeah, but maybe you can participate with the audio. I don't know.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm working on getting this video working, and I'll be continuing to do that. But I can introduce myself briefly without the video at first, I suppose. So great to be here. Happy to see people that I know and also new people. And well, my name is Emil, and I represent a consulting firm called Invenio. And we work with startups and scale-ups, but we also work with enterprises and corporates. And what we focus on is linking the two parties. So how can a big corporate find innovation strategies by looking to the people who does that the best, the startups and the scale-ups. And here we facilitate partnerships and investments and sometimes acquisitions. So I help in that combination, and I also spend quite a lot of time helping startups figuring out how to fundraise, how to find investors, and I focus mostly on the content of what you're saying, not really how you're saying it. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And hopefully you will be able to see me soon in a few minutes as well.
Thank you, Emil. I hope the video works. Let's jump right into the evening. I'll just put a minute's overview for everyone how this is going to work. So about today's pitching, startups will do maximum 1 minute elevator pitch. There are no slides to be presented, no stress. So all you need is a very simple story about your startup to our jury or panelists, which are here assessing and guiding you once you have pitched on what are the areas for improvement. The jury and panel will review pitches on two broad areas. One is the pitch itself, which is whether the pitch was clear, presentation, content, body movement, however we talk about that. And the other is the idea side, which is the business idea, validation, potential risks, market, choice of customers, so all that side of the pitch. Each startup will have around 4 minutes, I would say, including the pitch time, and we have a lot of pre-submitted pitches which team is reviewing, and we'll be picking some out, but we'll also take wildcard pitches on the queue. So I'll stop here this slide and we'll move to the first pitch. Just a minute for everyone. I'll just see the quick list which is coming in from the team here, if we can locate the first set of pitches that we have on the queue, for example. So I'll just see here. Hold on. This is going to take just half a minute's friction time. Okay, so we have Max and then Monica. So let's move to Max. For all the speakers who are here for pitching, I'll bring you on stage for your time, and once your time is over, you can self-exit to the other side so that the next startup can come. So Max, over to you. You are coming to the panelist side, and just tell us where you're connecting from, and then jump right into your pitch. Let's see if this is working for Max. So Max, you're here with our pitch. Just wait. See, did you get a panel? Yeah, we can see you. Yes, finally. I hope we can hear you as well. No, we don't hear you. Okay. So no worries, maybe you can fix that. Let me just see. Yeah.
This is better?
Yeah, this is better. This is better. Over to you. You have max 1 minute. Go ahead. Where are you connecting from?
I'll start with, that's part of my pitch.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Max from Berlin, Germany. I'm a software engineering manager with a very big passion for event planning. Event organizers are wasting a significant amount of resources due to manual communication with partners, influencers, and their guests. And our platform will automate all communication, integrate with existing tools, and generate content, and of course, visualize all data in real time. We are aiming to be the only all-in-one event management solution that offers AI-based communication. Our users are event management agencies working with celebrities, major brands, nonprofits, and big corporations. Our revenue model is based on a mix of subscription tiers and commission-based partnerships. We're currently seeking 126,000 euros to develop our software and scale our marketing, but also a business angel who can expand our partnerships. Are you ready to revolutionize the event management industry with us?
Got it. Thank you, Max. So for our panelists, great if you could raise your hand. That goes much faster for me. So whoever wants to go first, just raise your hand and I'll go in that order. So Annette, over to you. And you can do it through Zoom as well. You can do it physically as well. Zoom, so Annette and then Andrew.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Max, for your presentation. It was clear, purpose-filled. I like that you ended with an ask because I'm understanding that we're going through pitch and ideas. Pitching, I think you're really, really good. It's easy to read, you know, when you're actually presenting. So this is something that would be the task for you to make sure that you know what you're talking about without your notes in the future. But I think that you have something going on. This is not my forte. I do deep tech, but I understand the market and the opportunity. It's not easy. So please figure out exactly why you are the best tool and then make sure that you present it. Work together with someone that would use your services if there are the influencers or the one that you're targeting. But really good. Congratulations to a really good pitch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. It filled in a lot of information. It felt really calm, not too fast, not too slow, answered pretty much all my questions. There was just two small things that I wanted to flag. The first one is I agree with Annette that what's really lacking is the what's so special, where or if you have any traction or anything like that. So because there are a lot of people in this space. I've heard a lot of pitches about event management solutions in the recent weeks, and it seems to be really, really escalating. So I really want to hear what's new, what's different, what's special, or is it just that you have a lot of traction because of the network effect? Even if your product isn't special, if people buy it, it's a good thing. One other small thing at the beginning, I would maybe put that thing about what's new and special about your thing right at the beginning, before you say you're from Germany, before you say who you are. Do it like they do on TV, where first you get the teaser and then you fill in the background details, because that's much more interesting to the average listener.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Elsa, over to you. We'll take one more comment and then move to Monica. You are next in pitching. Elsa, over to you.
Oh, perfect. I can just echo the other two then. Really good, very clear. Differentiator was super important here. Solution was, problem and solution was clearly stated, but I also would want to know more about the solution, like how do you actually solve the problem more than, you know, more in detail on the product. Financials, I would want some KPIs of kinds, depending on what you have. There and good that you had an ask in the end. Also add runway, you know, etc. to that. But great that you had it.
Thank you so much, Max. Thank you for the pitch. We'll move to the next startup now. Monica, we are bringing you on the main stage now. When you get a pointer, just move here. Max, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if Monica is able to join. So there's always going to be this 10-15 seconds of move over time. And let's hope.
Hello.
Hi, Monica. Hi.
Greetings from Helsinki.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So over to you. This is your time.
Okay, thank you. So I will start with a question. So first, have you ever wondered how easy it is to start a business that actually helps people in their own homes, like gardening, cleaning, electrician, and so on? And some of these jobs might require special training, like electrician, but it's actually fairly easy to start this business. Yet the biggest challenge for this kinds of business is actually creating margins and growth. So I did a little survey in Finland for people in this business, and I find that the biggest challenge for them is either they don't have the time, knowledge, or skill to grow their business, and the second one is facing pricing war. Because running a business, this kind of business, it actually takes a lot of time, and you have to keep track schedules, go to the calendar, check the website, take notes on paper, check the WhatsApp, open Google Maps, and so on. And once you miss a step, you risk of giving out a hefty discount. And this is not good. So my software, Calendif, it's a new app that will help business owners to save time and ensure high quality by putting all of these features in one app. It's like having a calendar, email, YouTube, Slack, WhatsApp, alarms, and maps in one places in this app. And it's time for, I think it's time for us to free up these business owners in this industry to focus more on their business to grow and providing better service to their customers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. Charlotte, yes, I saw your hand moving up. I hope you, yeah.
I actually, honestly, I'm not finding the digital raise hand functionality.
Okay.
So it's like, well, thank you very much, Monica. So if I understand it correctly, you do workflow or management system for at-home service providers. What I was missing is how far have you come? Is there a product? Is this at idea stage? Do you have revenue? Do you have customers? And the other thing was also, it's a quite broad, gardeners, cleaners, nannies. Are you focusing on one area first? And then why are you the right person to do this? Have you felt the pain yourself? Have you worked as something like that? So there's something called founder idea fit, and I suspect there is one without me knowing it.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much.
You don't need to respond. I think because we have short. So take this
Okay.
as a feedback from the panel, which you can improve in your next page. But over to Elsa and then Emil.
Yes, thank you, Monica. Super fun hearing about your company. I would want you to come to the solution earlier. You explained the problem for about half of the time at least, and I think that in this time, 1 minute, it has to come earlier, and it has to be clear what you're doing from the beginning and how you're solving the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Emil.
Thank you, Monica. My feedback relates to what we just heard. And that comes down to clarity on what the solution is. It sounds pretty broad, sounds quite ambitious. And one good way to do that is to relate it to another kind of product that we all know about. What comes to mind for me is maybe Microsoft Office. Everyone uses that. You're doing that, but for a specific subset of customers. Or what now might be the better kind of aspect of company to relate to. Otherwise, good. But I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Monica, for a great pitch and for the feedback from our panelists. I'll now request Yarina to come on the main stage. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Hi, Yarina.
Everyone?
Yes, you're here. Tell us where
Awesome.
you're joining from, and then it's over to you.
Okay, welcoming from New York. My name is Yarina Hotlib. I'm the co-founder of the Get Grant. It is a one-stop hub for small businesses of United States, which allows them to find the best grants for them and help them to go through the application process with the pinch of AI magic. So within the latest 15 years, I've started as a software engineer. And of course, I dreamed as each and every, I assume, IT guy to create my own wow product, which gonna kind of combine both hard and complex technology with the solving real issues, real problems. And when I moved a year ago from Ukraine to United States, I've been forced to move in. For me, it was really important. And to be totally honest with you, really strange to figure out that in the United States, there are 33.4 million of registered small businesses, and only 40% of them are actually marking that they're meeting their financial needs. And I mean, for me, it was so natural to think that grants might be a great opportunity for small businesses to gain some additional financing, but only 8% of small businesses actually marking that they're ready to go for the grants. Why? Because it's hard to find them. It's cost a lot. I mean, just to find the grants applicable for you. And then it's another headache to fulfill them. The process is overwhelming. It's fulfilled with the bureaucracy. So that's how I came up with the idea to provide possibility for small businesses. Just go into one website, find everything needed, and then just help them to fulfill their applications. So our business model is subscription. We are B2C. We are on the MVP stage currently. The engineering team is working on creation the product. So I'd be more than happy if anyone would love to join us in that journey. Sorry.
Thank you, Irina. That went slightly ahead in terms of time, but over to our experts. Emil, over to you. I see your hand here.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for the pitch. It's great that you want to create a product, but I would say that you start a company based on that you want to solve a problem. So I would start with that first. And then that you want to create a product, that's also a very good driver, but that comes later, right? What you just said was the story of your company. I would condense that. So say it in less words and more structure, because then I'm sure you will get your message across. That's for me.
Awesome. Elsa, over to you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it was really good that you started with the kind of the first sentence about what you're doing, kind of an elevator pitch in the beginning. And that is great for us to like get speed up in what problem you're actually solving. But then I think that I will echo Emil. I would have wanted to learn more about the product, where you're at, the business model, and so on, a little bit more than the current focus in the pitch. But that's just something to take away for the next time. And maybe when you have longer time, you can expand on the storytelling there.
Thank
Can
you.
I just add something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Well,
Anne.
thank you so much for your passion and for your attitude. I mean, it's not easy to move to another country and then also to find something where you can develop and you feel that you have a purpose. And I appreciate that a lot. And the passion shows that you are here to create because it is what you are there for, sort of start a new beginning, or there is something that is in shift. So I really appreciate your passion and being here today. Thank you so much for sharing. You'll get there.
Thank you, Irina. Thank you. I'll now request Elin to come on stage. Let's see, promote to panelists. And really, guys, if you're pitching, 1 minute, because then we can have as many startups as possible till the time we can request the panel to stay. It's 8 o'clock Swedish time, but maybe we can borrow a couple of minutes more from them. But over to you, Elin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elin. I'm CEO and founder of Sakura. We are a feature-based and partly AI-based platform with technical solutions for loneliness and social isolation to help people build real and long-term social relationships. We know that the longest study in the world shows that people need human relationships even more than they need clean air. Yet over 30 million people are statistically lonely in Europe. Through our platform, we've already been able to help people who have not left their home in 10 to 15 years establish long-term communities and relationships through our platform. We are a free platform with a paid premium subscription. We expect an ARR of 1 million euro in 2 years. My team have suffered loneliness in various different ways, and it makes us understand our audience with more sensitivity. And there are other apps for emotional health on the market, but there's nothing that we've found as niched as we are for emotional health with the technology and the combinations of the different technologies that we're using. And we're raising 200,000 euros pre-seed, and this is to establish 30,000 users and 5,000 of those paying customers in the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elin. And yes, I see Charlotte first, then Andrew. Yes, Charlotte, over to you, and then to Andrew.
Great work, including KPIs. Great work in making me curious, feeling what is the personal story here? You say we have experienced it firsthand. What I am wondering is, I didn't quite understand free platform, but with paid subscription. I got a bit confused there about the business model. And there were two things that I'm wondering. So how do you find people? How do you recruit them into, because you need a growth hacker, someone in your team is good at recruiting them. and how does it actually work? What do you do on the platform? So that is these are questions in the back of my mind. Well done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Andrew, over to you, then to Annette, and then to Emil if we are picking up pace now. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I thought it was great that you start with what you do. So many people get a little bit distracted at the beginning, but you started in the right place, which is very strong. I like the way you had some numbers. People always say, where are the numbers? You had some. And I like the way you address the issue of competition, which is always a massive problem in this area. And it's good to know you're going for a niche. I think that, as this has already been mentioned, but I think the one thing that I missed was how you're going to do the go-to-market. How are you going to find the people? Because it's a very, very busy world out there, and there are a lot of different apps, and just trying to get people's attention is very, very difficult. So just some ideas about your strategies and approaches to that would be a great addition.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Andrew, Annette, over to you, and then to Emil. And then I'll request the next.
Sorry. Thank you, Elin, for a very smooth presentation, and good for you adding those KPIs that Elsa asked for before. That is really good, because it's a really, really short pitch, and you need to just focus on exactly the stuff that would entice us to want to look into more. This is an extremely contaminated, I would actually say, space of apps for all kinds of different health challenges, not necessarily your niche, but if you niche yourself too much within health, or in this sort of vertical, it's going to be too slim, I believe. I would suggest you to find a company or someone with a large employment staff that will start working on using your material if you don't have it already, if you don't have 20,000 users or whatever you're planning on doing, because you need to start a momentum and get that feedback so you can start working on it. That will also add the KPIs, and those will be the strong KPIs that we're looking for if you have that traction. But understand that everyone you're pitching to has probably heard a similar pitch many times before. And the challenge here is to actually then go through with your message so much quicker than anyone else. And the reason why you will be the winner. It's not best to market or first to market, it's best to market, or also how you can actually prolong it and how you can continue to rebuild. So good luck, Ellen.
Thank you. Very quick word from Emil. And in the meantime, I'll bring the next panelist. Thank you, Elin. Emil, quick words from you.
Yes, thank you, Elin. Well-formulated problem formulation, and nice with the proof points there as well. You showed some data. I appreciate that. I wasn't totally clear for me what the service software app really does. So that, from my end. And then you told us about some expected ARR and the growth you want to get to with the investment. If you have some early traction or proof that you build those forecasts on, please share them. Otherwise, it's easily interpreted as just forecasts. And if you have proof, throw them in our faces. That would be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Emil. Bringing Odisha here. Thank you, Elin, for being here. Guys, this is the pace and energy that you have in FI cohorts and the program. Some of us have been mentors here. Yes, Elsa, you will be with us in the coming cohort, but Emil, you have led several sessions, Annette, Andrew, and Charlotte. Thank you so much. Let's see, Odisha, if we can hear you. Over to you. It's your time. Let's move chop.
All right. Hi, my name is Odessa, and I'm a conscious consumer that cares about more than just money when shopping. And I'm not alone. 80% of all consumers today find sustainability to be important when making purchase decisions, yet it's so hard to know what is actually a good choice. For example, is it better to choose a t-shirt based on recycled or organic material? And to solve this confusion, I started Archer. And we are on a mission to help consumers make sustainable choices by boiling down complex sustainability information on product level to something as easy as a score between 1 to 10. So basically, we are like Google Translate, but for sustainability. And the scores are visible at Archer's own product comparison platform and will be soon found directly on various e-commerce sites in Sweden, wishing to guide their consumers to sustainable choices in an easy and trustful way. And we're currently looking for seed money to scale. So join our journey in making sustainability a default, one informed choice at a time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Odessa. I just wanted to check because there are 4 hands. Emil, are you going with this or is it from the previous time? I just wanted to double check. Otherwise, we'll go
it's from
with
the previous, but I'll happily do it again.
So Charlotte, Andrew, and Elsa. We'll take 3 feedbacks right now. Yes, Charlotte, over to you.
Great, clear pitch. The questions I have, is this a vitamin or is it a painkiller? And if it's a painkiller, who is it a painkiller for? So who's willing to pay? It sounded in the end as if this is a plugin put on top of the e-commerce sites, or if you actually, as a consumer in the store, you would have to go and check in your app about the choice. If you have any early collaborations with retailers or something like that, this would be the time to highlight that you already have found prospect customers who are willing to fuel this business.
Thank you, Charlotte. Andrew.
Hey, yeah, I thought that the description of the general idea was really good, and I especially like the Google Translate for sustainability. That conveys a lot of information in 4 words. That was brilliant. I wasn't so clear about the implementation, which is maybe a limitation at the time, but that's something maybe that needs a bit more work. The ask was there, but the traction I was missing a little bit. And there's one other little thing is at the beginning, I could see that you were looking to the side a little bit, and it's a good idea to learn at least the first part of every pitch so that you can look the camera straight in the eye, and that makes it much more persuasive.
Thank you, Andrew. And Elsa, quick one.
Yes, Odessa, thank you so much. I think it was a great story, and I think it was like a great pitch. But yes, I agree with Andrew. Learn it, or we could see that you're reading it a little bit. I would also say that I didn't understand the business model. How will you actually make money, and who is the customer here? Because it's a quite important part, and especially given the competitive landscape here as well. So I would love to know that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Al. Thank you, Odessa. And I'll request now Johan to come on board with his startup. Let's see if we can locate Johan. Just a minute. Sometimes it takes a little switch over time. So let's see. Johan, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks. Can you hear me on that side?
Loud and clear.
Thank you. My name is Johan, and I'm presenting out of Oslo in Norway.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm the founder of Puheloinen, an Ubers Oppstart and TRK group portfolio company, where we are developing a smart risk prediction assistant to help project managers in real estate development cut cost overruns that amount to a whopping 30% of additional project costs on average with our AI software as a service. Compare us with how GPS for taxis show drivers where to avoid traffic delays beforehand. Puheloinen helps project managers spot and prevent upcoming risks in their daily tasks, all recorded on our platform across the entire portfolio. And these lead to severe delays, additional costs, and unnecessary carbon emissions. Our MVP is live with daily user retention. We have just received first revenue, have some of the largest customers in the Nordics signed up, and are now invited by new target customers with massive European portfolios who want to try us out. In a global serviceable market of 992 billion euros, this is only the beginning. And with our 17 years of industry experience, strong customer feedback loops, and strategic development cycles, any competitor will not only face a solid moat, but have an entire ocean to overcome. So we are currently raising a pre-seed round, and I look forward to speaking with any interested angels and family offices currently investing.
Thank you so much, Johan. And I see Charlotte and Andrew this time. Yes, please go ahead, guys.
I think Andrew was first, but okay, I'll go. So first of all, extremely well articulated pitch, I think. I think one of the best we've seen today so far. You didn't read it, you actually, or it didn't seem like you read it. And it also sounded to me like it was very clear. It's an AI SaaS risk risk prediction system for the real estate industry. So one thing I wasn't sure of, you said you had daily user attention. Who are these users? Is it the JLLs of the world, or is it small construction agencies, or like who are they? I would just like to get a little bit deeper into what exactly it is you're doing and what problem you're solving for whom.
Got it.
And that,
Thank
and also
you.
pre-seed, I would define the round size, because pre-seed can mean a lot of things.
Very good points. Andrew.
Yeah, I thought this was a really great pitch, very crisp, very precise, very confident, and it covered pretty much everything people want. We talked about the what you do, which is well expressed, the metrics, the comparisons with the real world, all about the traction, the competition, and the ask. And there's one last little detail that I loved, and that's the name of the startup on the shirt. Because that way, if somebody didn't catch the name, all the way through the whole pitch, they're seeing the name. And I think I'm going to tell everybody to buy a shirt like that from now on. That was a great idea.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Annette, over to you.
That was my only point. Sort of, if nobody took it, then I would, because this, I mean, don't underestimate slow or subtle presentation. If you don't have it in your background as a business name and you add it on your t-shirt, I think that is really, really cool. So good for you. I don't invest in SaaS at all. I'm very, very fascinated about real estate, but I would actually then ask you for a meeting just because now I know what the name of the company is. So good for you. Thanks for a good presentation.
It was a great pitch. I want to echo that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Johan. And we are requesting Jarno to come on board now. Johan, thank you so much. And nice pitch. Nice shirt, I would say, the way Andrew pointed out. So good advice.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Let's see if we have the next startup joining in. We can take in three. Yes, Jarno. Great. We can hear you.
Thank you. So, hi, everyone. My name is Jarno Karjalainen.
Where are you joining from? Sorry, where are you joining from?
I'm from Finland, Lapland.
Okay, got it. Please go ahead.
I am a founder and CEO at FinSofia, and we are a Finnish software as a service startup. And did you know that you are giving up 2 years out of your lifetime whilst queuing? I am here to welcome you all to the world of Neverline, where the future is queue-free, and freedom is our keyword. We offer scalable queuing software to business clients with multiple customer channels that eliminates physical, telephone, and digital queues to help improve the customer experience and to save resources. We combine customer channels and services in a customer-centric way so that people can enjoy a time-saving and hassle-free experience. We are getting a 50% ready and working service by the end of September. Whole project is due November. We have some attractions mainly from Finnish public healthcare and bureaus, and we are about to start piloting dialogues. With the public healthcare clients, one deal is pretty much 1 million deal. And we are looking for a co-founder/investor who shares our vision and passion. And we are looking for 285,000 euros for marketing research, IPR research, and so we can launch our service. We are driven by... sorry.
Yeah, we'll stop here. I think we are at the 1 minute marker now. But thank you so much for the pitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to our panelists.
All right, I'll start. Thank you so much, Jarno, for your presentation. And I really like your queue-free world, because I don't think that everybody is annoyed of sitting in a phone line, even though, and some actually have some opportunities for you to call you back, which is like fantastic, but that's not really the true world. So I appreciate the problem solving that you're trying to do. You're extremely early in your project, and you state so very clearly in your fundraising and so forth. And I believe that you have old competition with the ticket lines that used to be. Qmatic is a Swedish company that you should look into, because they probably have a lot of money and they might be interested in actually having a ticket system like this. Just saying. But I really appreciate you pitching, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more feedback? Yes, Elsa.
Thank you so much, Jarno. One thing that I want to give as an overall tip is to be time conscious, because now you got cut off, and we don't know what was left in the presentation.
One sentence.
Okay. But I think it's good to know that, like, practice on time, and rather, finish a little bit earlier and then add on. I think especially when there's a hard time cap.
Thank you. Thank you, Elsa. Just a quick feedback to all the community. There have been a lot of pitches, so we are just trying to locate whichever are fitting the way the feedback is coming in. So it's an adaptive process. But thank you so much for making these. We do these events very frequently. There's a pitching battle event coming in, so do join us. You can also come into our accelerator and feel how this goes. We run 15 sprints, and each sprint has a pitching component. So very welcome to be part of this journey. I'll now request Carol to join us
Thank
on
you so
stage.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jarno. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let me see if Carol can join in. Carol.
Yeah.
Yes. Where are you joining from? And it's over to you, because it's the last 12 minutes or 11 minutes and it's chop. Please go ahead.
Great. Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Carol. I'm joining from Spain. I'm a founder of BSpeaker. BSpeaker is AI-powered language tutor inside your phone, available 24/7, just for you. We are solving the problem of availability and the cost of private tutoring. This is a huge problem. The demand for tutors is very, very big. The whole market is worth currently $60 billion, and it will be worth $200 billion in few years. We started working on our product 2 years ago. A year ago, we've released the first version, and since then we started growing very quickly. In last month, our revenue was 40,000 euro. And it can grow 20% month over month. We are now opening a seed round. We're looking for 1.5 million euro for a seed round. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was exactly on time. Thank you. And Emil, you, and then Charlotte. Maybe I'm seeing the order differently, but this is how it appears. So Emil and then Charlotte.
Wonderful. Thank you for a good pitch. I have just 2 points. One is that I appreciate that you put a very clear definition of your solution in the beginning, and then you brought the problem up. Very good when it's a 1-minute pitch. And then I would want to hear about how your solution differentiates against all the other apps that teach you, right? And if it's AI that differentiates you, I'd like to hear about the moat that makes sure that no one else can also get ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emil. Charlotte.
I'm with Emil on the competition. We hear a lot about these types of apps recently. So I would need to understand how your product differs. And the other thing, you said you're looking for 1.5 million seed round. Was it euros? Was it dollars? Was it euros?
Euros.
And then I'm always trying to tell founders, when you ask for something, make it as a habit that in the same sentence you say, in order to. Because it's easy to ask for money, but you got to give something back. And even if you don't reach the top 5 milestones you set for yourself, just articulating, with that money, the aim is to reach XYZ is very helpful to understand where in your journey.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Charlotte and Elsa.
Yes, thank you, Carol. I've seen the pitch before and earlier on, and I really like what you're doing, but I will echo the differentiator compared to other both competitors and other LLMs. I think that it would be interesting to also, or adding on to Charlotte's point about the ask, distribution of funds is also interesting, and that is an overall comment, like we will, you know, spend it on this and this and that. And if you in a pitch deck also add, you know, a cake where you add the percentages of each bigger part that of the distribution of funds. Timeline of funding, like when are you closing, or when did you start raising, and also if something is already committed. Now we don't have time, but I mean as overall comments, and also run rate with the investment that you're seeking is super important, I think.
I have all these answers, but 1 minute was not enough. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I get that completely.
Can I just say one more thing? Carol, congratulations to your venture. I'm curious because you say that you're from Spain and you're making a traction of the market. And I'm thinking, oh, is that the Spanish market, or is it the European market, or is it the world market that you're referring to? So try to be a little tad more specific on, we are expanding, blah, blah, if it's only in Spain or if it's in, you know, South Europe or whatever it is. So we know where the market is, because otherwise we go like, yeah, you know, the market you're never going to use. But good luck with your venture. You're doing a good thing. We know kids need to study more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. And then requesting Elena to join on stage now.
Hello, my name is Elena. I'm presenting from Stockholm. My project is called Changers. It's a gamified platform for kids to develop critical thinking skills. Information overload, propaganda, bullying, and anxiety, those are the main threats that kids are facing right now. Changers is an app that is on a mission to help kids to overcome modern social problems and develop one of the most important skills of the future, critical thinking. Basically, that is the ability to thinking carefully about the subject or idea without allowing feelings or opinions to affect consumer. Unlike other educational apps, Changers is built on the real-life examples that are combined with gamified mechanics, visual content, and includes a lot of fun group exercises with the peers, which will help kids to train their ability to face challenging situations in the real world. With our solution, we have 3.6 million potential of critical thinking on US market. And we are already available in the App Store. So the first MVP is launched 2 weeks ago. Let's help kids to grow in the happy and self-aware future leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena. I see Emil and then Annette and then Charlotte. Let's go fast. We have a couple of more.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for the pitch. Saying that it's the main threats kids are facing, and that can also be a strong opinion about people. So I would back that up with some data, you know, a clear example that is actually a problem, right? That's great. I kind of agree with you, but this can be very abstract, I think, for a lot of people. So you also need to explain and prove why enough people will agree and also pay for it. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Annette, and then Charlotte.
Well, Elena, I think everybody needs to have some critical thinking skills in the future. So, and then be able to understand what sources are and so forth, and the information in itself. It's really, really a tricky thing. I don't even know how you can niche it, if you should do kids or if which grade, the reason why for the critical thinking. This is a really, really big topic, and also especially when we have one continent that has non-critical thinking skills. So it's really a warfare of words that are coming out, and then also who are doing it. So try to understand. I think that you, Charlotte said something before. Is this a vitamin or a painkiller? Is this something that how are we using it, and where are you coming from? What you're doing is important, but it needs also to be massaged so it comes out. I think, Emil has a point too of the opinion of things, of why we should do it and so forth. Schools are interesting to push it through. That's a tricky market to sell through. So, but really, really good luck and stay true to the course.
Thank you, Annette. We'll take 2 very quick feedbacks. Annette, I know some of the panelists have hard cutoff, so that's perfectly okay. Whoever can stay for another 5 minutes, we'll try to squeeze in 1 or maybe 2 pitches. So Charlotte and then Elsa, let's do quick feedback here. Yeah.
Okay. Rather than calling it a project, call it a business. How do you get parents or schools to actually pay? User group kids, what age group? Girls, 5th graders? And rather than saying that the MVP is live as a milestone, how many users do you actually have?
Thank you. Yes.
Business model. Who's going to pay and how? Because as Anna said, schools very tricky with either tenders or low margins, and consumers a very low conversion rate, usually like 1 to 2%. So it would be good to understand that better.
Perfect. Thank you, Elsa. And thank you, Charlotte. I'll now request. Thank you, Elena, for being here. Over to you. Let's see who was here next. Dume. Yeah.
Dume. Yeah. Hi, I'm Dume from Hungary, and I have a dream. Imagine a world where measuring tree parameters, carbon footprints, or any ecological data isn't done through hours of manual labor, but it is automated, precise, and efficient. That's our vision. With hundreds of working hours behind us, with my team, we are developing a cost-effective, scalable deep learning framework to automate ecological fieldwork. Our value proposition: we use affordable video sensors coupled with cutting-edge large language models and drones. Together, they produce precise 3D reconstruction of real environments, from dense forests to urban green spaces. We achieve this at a fraction of cost to traditional LiDAR technology, making it not just innovative, but also affordable. Our MVP is already creating value for clients in Hungary, and now we are eager to introduce our solution to Nordic countries, as we have a founder based in Denmark as well. The data to transform our world is all out there today. Our duty is to harness for a sustainable future and tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dume. And Emil, over to you. I'll just before Emil, you go in the last couple of minutes, I'll do very quick points over here. We have a general pitching repository where you can send pitches for Nordic Pitch Battle and several upcoming events. I'll just paste this here. So all startups who want to pitch in the upcoming pitch battle, they can do it over there. So that link is coming. Yes, Emil.
Thank you, Doma. Sounds really good. I hear a lot of solutions working on this. A lot of companies doing similar stuff. It's saturated, right? So you're going to have to be really strong in explaining how you differentiate. Although it really does sound like you have something that's really good. I don't understand it because that's not my field of expertise. So you're going to have to work a lot on how to really convey that message, especially in a 1-minute pitch. It's going to be hard. Super nice that you have the traction. Use that as well. But I think that's going to be your main challenge, to really show how you differ.
Awesome. Thank you, Emil. Any other feedback we have from the panelists? Yes, Andrew.
I just wanted to say that I agree with Emil about the traction and about how it needs to be a little bit clearer of what you do for people who are not in the business. And again, I think I'd like to remind everybody that it's worth learning your 1-minute pitch, so you don't need to look at notes, because that in a video presentation you can get away with it. On stage it's a lot harder, and it's a lot better just to learn it. And if it isn't easy to learn, then simplify the structure, organize it more hierarchically so it is easy to remember. Makes a huge difference.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We'll take our last pitch now. Paul, over to you. Thank you, Dume.
All right, thank you. Environmental Impacts Academy helps businesses save the planet and be compliant with environmental regulation. Businesses don't know all their environmental impacts across their value chain. Environmental lifecycle assessment is a methodology that identifies your main environmental impacts and what drives them, and it helps you identify effective improvement actions. Doing a lifecycle assessment is not rocket science, but it is a bit difficult, and you need to know what you're doing. We have a scalable training setup where people get a 2-week intensive academic level training from world-leading experts, after which we support them when they do their first lifecycle assessment. The world will need millions of people who know how to do lifecycle assessments very soon. We have had 30 paying customers so far during a year and a half. Now we need funding to boost our B2B sales and marketing to capture a market that's growing now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's just see. Hold on. Charlotte and then email.
Maybe it's because I'm tired, but I didn't quite catch. I caught that there's a 1 million market size and you have 30 customers, but who exactly are they? And how do you, how does the life cycle assessment help them? I would have wanted to understand what problem you're solving a little bit better.
Got it. Thank you, Emil.
And I also would like to know how much is software training and consulting? What is the business model? Is this a software business or is it a consulting business? Because that is often a very binary thing for a lot of investors. So that was a bit unclear for me. It's important to be clear regarding that.
Awesome. Thank you. If there is no more feedback, I would thank all the community who joined us today and to all the okay, 2 more minutes if some of the panelists can stay. Hungta, if you want to come on screen, we'll bring you on. But Paul, thank you so much for the pitch. We'll take one last pitch. I'm sorry to steal your time. Let's see, because this was... Yes, okay. Hungta. And maybe I can give the feedback if panelists are leaving. So yeah. Thank you so much, community, for being here and for the panelists for being here. And we'll just take one last close and then we'll move forward. I'll also request my team to put some links over here as to our next events and how they're happening and where founders can get more value. Hungta, over to you, where you're connecting from, and let's have your pitch very quickly.
Hello from Finland. My name is Hungta, and as you know, factories are over-consuming energy, chemicals, and other resources to stabilize the product quality. That's why we need more than $9 trillion per year to achieve the net zero emission in 2050. So our company, Green Factory AI, is developing an AI software solution to have factory to automate and optimize their manufacturing processes. So we have experience with 7 client pilots already, and we plan to have a better product. We want to sell the product directly to factories or also partner with industrial software vendors as ABB and Honeywell. So yeah, that is our idea.
Thank you so much, Hungta. Any spontaneous feedback before we part off? Yes, Andrew, and then Charlotte.
I have a very, very quick one. First of all, it's again because we're tired, but I really wasn't sure what it is that you do, but it should be at the very, very beginning before the fluffy stuff. You should hit people with what we do or why it's important, or something really catchy at the very beginning, and also a couple of minor technical details. The first one is that you should memorize a 1-minute pitch, or at least the opening phrases, because it looks really good if you're looking straight into the camera all the time. And the other little tip is put the computer on a pile of books or something to raise it up to eye level so that you're looking at it like an equal. Otherwise, if you're leaning over it, it doesn't look so good in a video presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for practical tips on pitching. Charlotte, and then Elsa.
What makes your factory AI carbon emission helping workflow management system special? So I've heard quite some similar pitches lately. So I would like to understand, why would ABB select your solution and not one of the others?
Thank you. Got it. Thank you, Charlotte. Elsa.
Thank you for the pitch. I understand you're fairly early stages, even if you say they have pilot customers, but I think that if you're this early talk also about the value that you bring into the company as a founder, because or the team, or your experience in the field, because that will tell us also more if you're how you will come across and solve this problem.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. And now a big thanks to everyone for being here today and for all our panelists. So if we can maybe have a couple of last words from all the panelists, like general reaction on the pitches that we saw, and then we can close off the evening.
Yes, I can start, if I may. Thank you, everyone, for daring to go up on stage and pitching the 1-minute pitch. It is the hardest pitching way. I remember for a 3-minute pitch, I practiced every night for 3 weeks in the evenings. So especially to the ones of you who winged it, well done. My advice, I put some of my thoughts in the chat as well, but my advice, if you come into this setting and you haven't really prepared and practiced, instead of reading, just think of it as, how would you in a relaxed way explain what you do to your neighbors or your uncle? And I bet you would have gotten the attention from all of us. So don't be so scared to think that, oh, if I forget this and that. Of course, we're here in the setup where we're supposed to sort of poke you and say, hey, have you thought of this, add this, and so on. But sometimes just explaining what you do is enough to get people curious. So keep showing that passion that you have. Do know that you will get 99 no's before you get one yes. And it's that one yes you need to keep hustling for. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlotte. Elsa, yeah.
Yes, I tend to agree with Charlotte there. Practice a lot before, and even if this is, it's even harder to do a 1 minute than a 3 minute, I think, because you cannot fill out all the information, but you practice. And if you actually go around to pitch for investors, look out for who is a good fit for you, but practice on the ones that are not maybe your priority first, because they will give you so much valuable feedback before you actually kind of have to nail it for the right fit investor. And that, I think, is a tip to take with you as well.
Very good point. Any last words from Andrew and then Emil?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks to everyone. There was some really interesting pitches here and some interesting feedback too as well. And I'd like to agree with everybody else who said that everybody really needs to practice a little bit. And one last word about the tone. If you are asked to improvise something, don't present it like it's a sort of a stage theatrical thing. And there's a very good piece of advice that we give to TED speakers. And that is, we tell them to imagine, not that they're on a big stage shouting down at the people, but to imagine you're at a dinner with friends and you're telling a story to somebody, and give that kind of tone. So you're telling it like eye to eye, person to person, and making it more personal and much less like a piece of Shakespeare or something. And that, actually, I've tried that, and it actually works for me, and it works for a lot of other people too.
Thank you, Andrew. Emil.
Yeah, I'm going to be short, and I'm just going to reiterate that the 1 minute pitch is super, 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 super hard. So don't beat yourself up. Also, sometimes it's a good idea, because one can forget what sounds natural or not when you're pitching and presenting yourself. When you feel that you don't have that something to relate to, if you don't know that, does this sound weird or not, does this sound good, listen to someone else and be someone that can have an opinion again. It would reset you to what actually makes sense and sounds natural. That's my final tip.
Thank you, Emil. Yes, Mecca.
Yeah, well, I've been on the chat here all evening, and I just wanted to add what a lovely, lovely summit this has been. And I'd just like to thank everyone, all the audience who have been sending in their comments and questions, and how they eagerly participated in the whole summit. This is what actually gives more energy to Natty Ventures and to FI and to everything that we do together in the ecosystem. So I just wanted to end this with a big thank you to everyone in Naimul. Oh my God, you're awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all our esteemed panelists here, Emil, Elsa, Charlotte, Andrew, and Annette just left us. Guys, thank you so much for all the energy you bring into the room. Wow, Awesome. Thank you and have a very, very good evening. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.